What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to basketball. The trade deadline is what, like a week away at this point, a little bit less by the time you guys are watching this. So let's take a look at one trade every team could make right before the deadline. And we're back on Bleacher Report because this is where we always go. Why come up with new content when you can read Zach Buckley's article? That's what this whole YouTube channel was conceived to be at the end of the day. That's just what we're here to do. But anyway, no, I appreciate you guys for tuning in. We're going to do one new trade idea for every team 1 week before the 2025 NBA trade deadline. This is a really wordy, what do you call this? A title to the article. There's a lot of numbers in it. But anyway, make sure you guys stay tuned to the end of the video for the comment to the video. And hey, make sure you guys like, subscribe, and comment. I've responded to every single comment to my YouTube channel, and I intend to keep on doing so. But anyway, let's start scrolling. Let's start reading and seeing some trades. The Atlanta Hawks receive Jakob Poeltl. There's been a lot of center news with the Atlanta Hawks. The Toronto Raptors receive Clint Capella, Kobe Buffkin, a 2025 second-round pick, and a 2027 second-round pick. So it's so interesting how values can change in the NBA. It wasn't that long ago where Rudy Gobert went for like 4 or 5 first-round picks or whatever. DeJounte Murray was like somebody at that level as well, like Donovan Mitchell, right? People like that. Then, people kind of freaked out because they're like, oh my gosh, that's so many picks to give up on things. That's too many assets. They're all gone. The Oklahoma City Thunder got all of our picks. Oh no, how did this even happen, right? And now we've got guys like Jakob Poeltl, who at one point you're like, yeah, that's at least a first-round pick and then maybe some seconds or something like that. Now we're saying Jakob Poeltl's more so like a couple second-round picks and like some okay players, right? Kind of interesting how that works. The Dennis Schroeder trade, I think, really set the standard for where things are at this point, because Dennis Schroeder, we would have said like kind of a first round pick for this guy. This is a really good quality starter basketball player, right? He just went for like 2 seconds and then like no players. I know there was a player in the trade, but the guy's literally incapable of playing. So it was just the 2 picks, right? The 2 second-round picks. Now you got Jakob Poeltl, who, for all intents and purposes, like very fine, above average, like center in the NBA. Very, very good defensively. Do the Raptors really need him at this point? I've seen some Raptors fans be like, but then we won't have a center. Well, you guys aren't winning basketball games anyway. It don't matter if you have a center or not. Like, there's going to be the argument that is always made about, like, hey, the landing pad, right? You guys hear me refer to the landing pad a lot. You guys are probably going to get a top-tier talent in the draft this year. Fingers crossed for you guys, right? But not as crossed as I am for my Chicago Bulls. But it wouldn't be the worst idea to just have a nice starter quality center on the team to pair with whoever of the young guys you bring in, right? That's totally an argument. But if you don't want to pay like Jakob Poeltl going forward and everything, you can bring in Clint Capella, who's expiring, so you save some money there. You bring in Kobe Buffkin, young player. I'm not too big on Kobe Buffkin personally. I'm not really sure what he does exactly. It doesn't seem like a true point guard to me. You get a couple picks to go along with it. If I'm the Hawks, yeah, I do this just for like defensive purposes. Offensively, it actually probably mess with them quite a bit because the Hawks throw like the most lobs in the NBA, and it's like not even close. That's a big part of their offense and why Trey's able to do what he does with the ball so much is because they have constant rim pressure. But Jakob Poeltl is probably an upgrade over Clint Capella at this point. But Capella's a solid player, so is what it is. You guys tell me what you think of the trades. The Boston Celtics, we have definitely drawn this one up at the Discord. If you guys aren't on the Discord already, what are you doing? Go join the Discord. Link is in the description. We're talking basketball all the time. How many updates do I have on here of the Discord at this point? Oh my god, the NBA All-Star reveals are happening right now, but I've got like 8 to 10 Discord updates on there alone, so it's popping on there. But the Boston Celtics receive Javonte Green, the Pelicans receive Jaden Springer, and a 2030 second-round pick. So Jaden Springer, probably a decent chance that he gets traded, right? And here's the reason why. Jaden Springer, for the Celtics, doesn't play a whole bunch, right? And he makes about $4 million. He's not on a minimum contract, so he doesn't play. He makes about $4 million. And you say, oh, it's $4 million, right? But for those of you that have been paying any sort of attention to how basketball in the NBA works, there's a thing called luxury tax, and that tax has a repeater tax on it, which compounds. So while it costs Jaden Springer $4 million to be on the salary of the team, it actually costs the team $16 million worth of NBA dollars. Like, hey, you have to pay the NBA this much because of the repeater tax and everything. So most likely they're going to trade Jaden Springer for like a Javonte Green who's on a minimum contract, right? So you're going to end up saving maybe more so like I'm gonna guess like $11 million by making that trade, which is a good deal. And look, Javonte Green's just a better player, so that's why you probably throw the second round pick onto it. Javonte Green is one of my favorite players in the NBA. I wish he was still in the Chicago Bulls. He brings a ton of intensity defensively. He's a fine shooter at this point. He plays above the rim. He can guard like 1 through 5, it feels like, despite being 6'4". So I'm a big fan. I think that'd be a good move if you're the Boston Celtics. The Brooklyn Nets. Whoa, what's going on here? What's going on here? Okay, Brooklyn, we got Marcus Smart, G.G. Jackson coming over, and a 2025 first-round pick for Cam Johnson. Okay, so you know what's funny? I've made this trade in a video before. I know that I have, and it's because I was thinking about, like, okay, who else could Brooklyn get? Like, who could Brooklyn get right now that's not going to make them better, but it could be an interesting piece for them to go get in the future, right? Because those guys aren't super readily available. G.G. Jackson is a player I'm very, very high on. I think he's incredibly talented. I think this is a guy that could really become like a 16, 17 point a game scorer in the NBA at some point and be really dynamic on both ends of the court. And look, the Grizzlies don't need him. I'm sure they'd like to have him, right? But if you could have Cam Johnson right now when you're trying to win basketball games, because look here, the Grizzlies have 13 good NBA players on their team, right? So they can give up Marcus Smart, GG, and they've got a couple first round picks to spare. So you throw a first round pick onto there for Cam Johnson. This is a pretty good trade for both ends, right? Marcus Smart's going to be what he's going to be at this point. You just take the salary on to take the salary on. It's not like the Nets are going anywhere anyway, right? And he could be a good landing pad player for whoever you draft. So I'm a big fan of this trade. I think this is a very, very good trade. The Charlotte Hornets, David Roddy and a second round pick that's coming from Charlotte, and they get Micic. Okay. Interesting. I'm not sure how I feel about this. So basically the Hawks want like another ball handler, like point guard type on the team because they really don't have a ton after Trae Young. And you bring in Micic. He's a good like game manager and everything. He's not going to do a ton else in full transparency. Like I'm just not a huge fan of his game. I think he's a little bit clunky at this point. But I mean, for a backup point guard, he's an okay option. I wouldn't feel great about him if he was a rotational piece come playoff time. So this feels like kind of a mute move. Is there something that I'm not really thinking about this between Charlotte's record and their near universal celebration of this draft class, blah, 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 blah. So the Hornets might instead, this is from the Hornets perspective, right? So they're just getting off of Micic and getting Roddy in a second. I don't see why Atlanta would go for this. So that's why I guess I'm tripping so much about this. I don't know. This doesn't seem like something that makes sense. Also, like, are the Hawks gonna buy at this point? That's something we didn't talk about at the beginning. Jalen Johnson is out for the season now. You have to imagine this team that's already like a 9-10 seed at best, now without their debatably second best player, doesn't really feel like a buying situation. So no, I'm not really feeling it. The Chicago Bulls, what are we doing? What are my Chicago Bulls getting? Kyle Anderson, Gary Payton, they're two like $8 million contracts, Guy Santos, and a first round pick lottery protected, because of course, for Vucevic. I don't like it. Personally, you better take that protection off there. Vucevic is like all-star good this year. We know that the Warriors are desperate to add talent in some capacity. You're not getting any interesting players back in this, and so if that draft pick doesn't turn into anything at all, you basically just gave away Vucevic. Now that pick's got to be like unprotected, or it's got to be like top 3 protected or something like that, so at least it's a good chance of conveying this year in the 2025 draft. And otherwise, no, I wouldn't sign up for that at all if I'm the Bulls. Would the Bulls maybe do that? I don't know. They've made some interesting moves in the past, but if you're the Warriors, yeah, no, if you're the Warriors and this is what you did, that's awesome. That's an awesome trade right there. Then again, nobody that's going to contribute at a super high level. And if it doesn't work anyway, you still get your draft pick. That's can't lose, right? That'd be 2 really good trades for them between Schroeder and Vucevic. So you can't complain about that. And Vucevic, like I said, I think he'd be a good fit on the Warriors at this point out of their kind of center options that exist out there. I mean, obviously the floor spacing's been really good this year. The rebounding's always good. The defense, not that great, right? That's the thing with Vucevic. It's not that great. It's not like he's bad like on the ground as much as he just doesn't provide like any like rim protection or things like that. So that's more so what the problem is. But overall, I mean, he'd definitely be a net positive to this team just because looking at like like the center rotation that the Warriors have at this point. It's not really giving you much right now. Like Trace Jackson Davis is kind of like, meh. Kevon Looney's actually having like a pretty damn good defensive season, but overall I'm just kind of like, meh. Moving on, the Cleveland Cavaliers. This is interesting. Chris Boucher for Georges Niang, a 2025 second round pick and a 2027 second round pick. Do you really need to give up that much for Boucher at this point? Can I go to Basketball Reference just like really quick? Let me just pull it up really quick and make sure I'm keeping up with everything Chris Boucher in the NBA at this point, because he's been a solid player of his career, but 10 points this year, that's nice for him. Rebounds are a little bit higher, minutes are a little bit higher than they have been in the past. 37% from three on almost 4 attempts. Yeah, that's pretty damn good. Honestly, I guess you take that. Okay, fair enough. Maybe it is 2 second-round picks because bigs are more of a commodity and stuff. The Cavs probably could use an extra big man on the team, right? Because while they kind of they start with Mobley and Allen, and they kind of just rotate the two like in and out as of right now, and on occasion they'll go to a third big man if they really need to. Chris Boucher would be a nice option to kind of round out the bench and everything like that, especially with the floor spacing and stuff. So I don't think it'd be the worst thing in the world, and I think you could probably put him next to Allen and Mobley. If you're the Raptors, you get basically 2 second-round picks. Niang's just going to be on the team to be on the team at this point. But for 2 second-round picks for Boucher, given what we know about the market right now, I think this is a good trade for both teams. I actually like this one. But again, let me know your comments down below. The Dallas Mavericks. It's just always felt like Kelly Olynyk should be on the Mavericks, doesn't it? Doesn't he just look like he should play for the Dallas Mavericks or something like that? Why not? So the Dallas Mavericks get Kelly Olynyk, and we'll talk about that. And they trade Maxi Kleber, Jaden Hardy, this is going back to Toronto, a 2025 second-round pick. The 2025 second-round picks could be very valuable in and of itself this year, but basically with Derek Lively going down and Maxi Kleber being just down and out as well, the Mavericks are looking around and they're going, okay, we could use some more big man help. Big Dan Gafford, he's amazing, right? He's really, really good. We like Daniel Gafford. That's cool. I think what Kelly Olynyk would bring in the floor spacing would be at least enough to get you by until Derek Lively gets back. I think he's a smart enough player. Is he having a great season? No, not necessarily. But could he be an interesting third option for this team? Sure. You're giving up Jaden Hardy, who you maybe haven't been thrilled with his development at this point, in a second-round pick. Fair enough. I also think you could probably just find, like, I know they brought up the one G League dude or whatever, so we'll see if he ends up getting like some serious PT. I'm not sure I feel the need to go do something like this. I'd maybe see if there's other moves to be made or something like that and kind of go from there. So just my thoughts. The Denver Nuggets, this should be interesting. Oh, I already don't really like it. DeAndre Hunter and Bogdan Bogdanovic, because Serbia, and they play together in Serbia, right? Him and Jokic. That's why they do it. Wow, so smart. And then I'm sure they didn't note it anywhere in here, right? Meanwhile, the addition of Bogdanovic, a national teammate of Nikola Jokic for Serbia. Yes, we get it. They speak the same language. For Michael Porter Jr., Zeke Naji, and a 2031 first-round pick swap. What? Wait a second here. So Atlanta is getting the pick in this situation when they're trading. Let me just, okay, because they're taking Zeke Naji on, right? And from everything I'm hearing and everything that's being reported, Zeke Naji's like the worst contract in NBA history, apparently, because the dude is pretty rough at this point. He's still got like 4 years, $8 million in a time in the NBA where every dollar counts so much, given how the rules are right now. So his contract is rough. It's really, really rough, and the Nuggets are trying to contend. So maybe you're saying we'll do whatever it takes to get off of Zeke. I'm not trading Michael Porter Jr. for DeAndre Hunter. That's a step down in my mind. It just is a step down. And then like Bogey, that's an improvement. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think I'm willing to give up like the pick swap and Michael Porter Jr. for that. I think I'd rather just keep MPJ and try to move Zeke Naji at another time if nobody's going to take him. So I don't know. I don't really buy into this. I wouldn't want to trade Michael Porter Jr. from the Denver Nuggets. And there's going to be some people like, Michael Porter Jr. is bad at defense. No, relax. He might not be the most like laterally quick and keeping somebody in front of him. He's one of the best off-ball defenders like we have in the NBA. Like, dude's incredibly smart, and dude is a walking bucket this year, and he fits so well next to Jokic. So I don't know. It's not like the starting lineup's the problem for the Nuggets at all. So we know that. The Detroit Pistons were coming back to the Ingram trade. Apparently, the Pistons get Brandon Ingram. They become big-time buyers apparently. And this is the trade we always see for Tim Hardaway Jr., Isaiah Stewart, and 2 second-round picks. you're really not giving up a ton to go get Brandon Ingram in this. So the economist in me says, like, okay, let's say Brandon Ingram is a 7 out of 10. Right? Let's just say he's a 7 out of 10. I'm just making numbers up, right? Let's say Tim Hardaway Jr. is like a 3 out of 10. Isaiah Stewart's like a 4.5 out of 10. And the second round picks are kind of like 1.5 out of 10. It's like, okay, you're getting pretty good value overall. Like, you're really not giving up anything of that crazy value. And that's where the Pistons fans coming in, they're like, Beef Stew is everything to this team. He's everything. And as long as Thomas Bryant's not in front of him and he's not trying to swing on him. But no, like I like Beef Stew, right? I like him. I like the edge that he brings a lot of heart and everything. Very physical player, good to have on your team, right? And he's just he's a solid basketball player, right? But at the end of the day, Brandon Ingram is light years better than him, right? The question that keeps getting asked is, do the Pistons actually need to go and make a move like this? To which I say, I think they should be buyers at the deadline. You guys have heard me say, I think the team that's winning this much after it's been so bad for so long should be rewarded. Like, that's what you should do. You keep morale going in the right direction. You signal to the rest of the roster, like, hey, it's your expectation to win now. Look, we're going and getting you winning players. I don't know if it has to be Brandon Ingram. I don't know if he's the right fit on this team either. I wouldn't say that's a logical fit considering how much Cade has the ball in his hands at all times. So I don't really buy into this anymore. If this happened, I wouldn't trip about it just because, like I said, I'm like, okay, you got Brandon Ingram. The value of Brandon Ingram is so much more than these guys. It just is. Like, it just literally is. Like, this is a very, very talented basketball player. So can you flip him and turn him into something else then? You're kind of selling high on him then? Well, I guess we'll see. I don't think this needs to happen. I think you can make other smaller win now moves. The Golden State Warriors, we're back to Vucevic. Wait. Oh, they just changed it up a little bit. Why did they just change up the trade a little bit? Oh, come on. Write a better article. Come on now. So Vucevic again for Kyle Anderson, Gary Payton, Guy Santos. But now it's a 2025 second round pick that still has protections on it and a 2030 we already talked about this. Do I need to talk about this anymore? I don't think that I do. So I'm going to move on. I'm going to move on to Houston Rockets. Josh Richardson and a 2026 second round pick. So that's what the Rockets get. The Heat receive a 2026 second round pick. Okay, so what? They're paying Houston to take it. So what's the actual math logic behind this? Between Houston's blah, 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 the Rockets appear to be, on first glance, as prime candidates for a blockbuster trade. It just doesn't seem like it's that likely in the cards, though. Blah, 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 has not changed. The Rockets, per ICO, don't want to disrupt their rotation, would seek draft compensation, second round picks, take additional salary. A small scale swap like this might work. Richardson might end up as a buyout candidate, but Houston would be incentivized. Okay, so they're basically just being given a second round pick because we don't think they're actually going to move at all. That's probably a fair trade. That's kind of the things you do around the trade deadline if you're a smart organization, right? And you're like, okay, we can reflect and be like, we're not going to do anything crazy right now. We don't need to do anything crazy. So if we can help facilitate other teams needing to do something and we can have a small come up from it, then why wouldn't we do it? So I guess that's the whole logic with this. It's not as much about Josh Richardson in this one. The Indiana Pacers take on Cam Johnson. We've seen him theorize there quite a bit. Seems like a guy they'd be interested in, and that doesn't surprise me. He's known as very like a high character, very smart guy. That seems like an Indiana Pacers type of thing. For Obi Toppin, Aaron Nesmith, a 2028 first round pick and a 2030. Wow. Okay, so a lot of talk has been had, and we already talked about Cam Johnson a little bit earlier in the video, but a lot of talk has been had that the Nets are kind of saying like, okay, we moved Dorian Finney-Smith, we moved Schroeder, we didn't really take anything back. Now we're starting to lose the games, right? Now we're losing the games. That's what we wanted to do, right? We're tanking this year. That's what we're doing. We don't really need any of these guys long term. So now they're looking at Cam Johnson, who they don't have to trade because he's not like an expiring deal, and they're like, okay, well, maybe we can just hold on to this. Then again, landing pad type thing. They're like, let's say we draft Cooper Flagg. Then Cooper Flagg has, he's got Nick Claxton on the team. He's got Cam Johnson. Maybe D'Angelo Russell comes back or something like that, who's still a solid NBA player at the end of the day. And you're like, okay, well, at least he's not going to be playing with bums right away. Like, these are good basketball players. And so that's kind of the logic they're using. But I think what a lot of other people have pointed out as well is they're like, hey, if somebody's willing to give us 2 first-round picks for him, though, considering what we're seeing other guys going for in the second-round picks, they're like, that's probably where, like, we're like, okay, well, then we'll just get rid of him, right? It's not that important to us at the end of the day. So I think that's kind of the line that they would need to cross. The Pacers giving up, like, more picks and everything, like, they'd be pretty much out. They'd be bought into this, like, Halliburton, Siakam, Miles Turner, Cam Johnson, maybe Mathurin. Like, that's their core. 4. Obviously, then the Nets get back Nesmith and Toppin, which, Toppin could contribute and stuff on a team like that. I'm not too big on Aaron Nesmith personally, but, this could be an interesting one. This could be an interesting one. If this happened, I would totally see it from both teams' perspectives. The Clippers taking on Jordan Clarkson, so going and getting another bench scorer that kind of needs the basketball a decent amount of the time. I don't think that's really what you need for the common package of PJ Tucker, Bones Highland, and then the remaining second round picks for this team. So is Jordan Clarkson better than Bones and PJ Tucker? Sure. Do you really need to give up 2 second-round picks for Jordan Clarkson at this point, or are the Jazz kind of just willing to give him away for a second-round pick and the chance to develop Bones? Did the Jazz even really want to take on another point guard project? They might just do it for the salary, if anything else, or more so just taking the second-round picks, and they'll just kind of let the salary fall off their books next year anyway. Because I think about it, and I'm like, they got Keontae George they're developing, who now they've moved to the bench in favor of Isaiah Collier, he is playing better than he was at the beginning of the season. It's still incredibly erratic and stuff, and he just looks really unbalanced the whole time when he's playing nowadays, which is kind of off-putting to me. But I guess this would be an upgrade for them. I don't think you need to give this much. I feel like just 1 second-round pick would probably suffice, because again, the Jazz just don't need and probably don't want Jordan Clarkson. So there you go. I think that's pretty simple in that case. But otherwise, the bones of this trade is kind of that's not a pun or anything. The bones to this trade is pretty solid. All right, here's the De'Aaron Fox trades. The Lakers received De'Aaron Fox. I can see it on paper. They need a point guard bad on this team right now. The Kings get Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura, 2 players that are contributing at a pretty decently high level for the Lakers right now. Gabe Vincent, kind of a nothing right there. A 2029 first-round pick and a 2031 first-round pick, top 5 protected. If that's all you got to give up for De'Aaron Fox, I guess you go for it, right? It's the same thing as the Brandon Ingram to the Pistons thing. It's okay, if you told me that's what I have to give up to get as good of a player as De'Aaron Fox is, that makes total sense to me, math and econ-wise. I'm just getting a way more valuable asset than any of those things are. Most likely, right? Maybe the Lakers are just horrible by 2031 or 2029. We don't know at the end of the day, and if you think you know, you're an idiot. I'm just being honest. You look in the mirror right now, point at yourself and go, you're a big dum-dum, aren't you? Yeah, don't act like you know anything. So that makes sense to me. Do I legitimately think a team of, what would this be? It'd be De'Aaron Fox, Max Christie, LeBron, AD, and then Dorian Finney-Smith? Is that winning a championship? Oh my gosh, JJ, you gotta find some shooting right now then. So I don't know, that just doesn't scream championship to me. But I get the Lakers got to do what they got to do. They're trying to keep Braun happy, and they're trying to win at the end of the day. So you got to swing. You got to swing on something. I don't know what else you're getting. So I don't know, because De'Aaron Fox is borderline all-star talent every year. I believe I had him in the all-star game this year. I picked him as one, and he's a good basketball player. He's got his faults, but he is a really, really, really good basketball player that I love watching play. So I don't know. We'll see. The Memphis Grizzlies. Ooh, I'm very curious about this one. Okay, so they've repeated the 2 teams again. So there's just no Gigi Jackson in this. Cam Johnson for Marcus Smart, Santi Aldama. I love Santi Aldama. So funny enough, 3 years ago in a fantasy basketball league, I picked him up and put him on my taxi, and I named, and this is a legacy league, by the way, so I still have this, and Santi Aldama has been awesome for me. I picked him up and I said, the future. And people were like, who the hell is Santi Aldama? And I was like, I promise you, I've watched the film. Dude's going to cook at some point for people. And Santi Aldama's low-key probably the 4th best player on this Grizzlies team. After the Jaren, Ja, Desmond Bane, right? It's probably Santi Aldama, in all honesty. He has been awesome for them this year. If you haven't watched him play this year, go watch him play, because you'll absolutely love his game and everything. I've gotten to see him play in person a couple times too at this point. It's been a pleasure to watch him play. But for Aldama in a first-round pick, that's an interesting one. That's not a bad move either. The Grizzlies have so many trade assets. It's a shame Jimmy Butler doesn't want to go there, because I feel like this would be a really easy swap then. It'd just be really, really easy. But again, he doesn't want to go there for some damn reason. So again, you get Marcus Smart, mostly salary reasons. Aldama, a good landing pad piece and a good future piece, because he's still on the younger side of things, and you get a first-round pick. Yeah, sure, why not? I could totally see if the Nets did this, I'd be like, okay, fair enough. And if the Grizzlies did this, I'd say, yeah, fair enough. You got a lot of depth at the position. It would suck to see Aldama go, but Cam Johnson's better than Aldama. That's just how it is, and that's basically what you're doing. You don't need Marcus Smart. So That's the logic at the end of the day. I like it. The Miami Heat. Oh boy. We got a 3-teamer. Okay, so the Heat get De'Aaron Fox and Kevin Huerter and a second-round pick. Oh boy. The Suns acquired Jimmy Butler, and then Bradley Beal waives his no-trade clause. I'm just not sure I see it at this point, but they get Bradley Beal. So the Kings came out and said, before I read this, they're like, we want a win-now player. We want like young players to develop, and we want draft capital for De'Aaron Fox, which, like, yeah, of course you want everything. I would like everything too. I would like to have a 6-pack this summer too. Is it going to happen? Probably not. But, you know, I'd like to dream. So, but could you maybe get this for De'Aaron Fox? Quite possibly, because he's like in the prime of his career and stuff like that. Good for him. De'Aaron Fox is awesome. So you get the win now player, Bradley Beal. You get Jaime Jaquez Jr., who hasn't had a great sophomore season, but we all know the name and where we think he could be interesting. A 2027 first-round pick, a 2029 first-round pick, another 2029 first-round pick. So 3 first-round picks. Bradley Beal, who you can try to use to be competitive. Not sure what the point of being competitive is on the Kings if you don't have De'Aaron Fox at this point. You get Jaime Jaquez to kind of develop at a position that you really need, and then 3 first-round picks. Is that enough for Fox? I guess if you don't think he's coming back, then shit, I guess, right? I don't know what the other options are at the end of the day, but it's not a bad haul. Like, it's not great, because, again, I'd want some more tangible assets that are going to help me down the line, and I don't know how highly I hold Jaime Jaquez Jr. at this point, and Bradley Beal's just kind of, like, he'll get you 20 points efficiently, but for how much longer, right? And if you're the Miami Heat in this case who we're talking about, you get De'Aaron Fox and Kevin Huerter for this? Hell yeah, that's a pretty good return for Jimmy Butler. I'll take that. Hopefully Kevin Huerter can figure it out with the Heat, and they still got a second-round pick out of it. So, yeah, and the Suns get Jimmy Butler for basically just like Beal and some picks and stuff. Cool. That's fine. I think this could be a solid trade if this happened. I certainly wouldn't bark at any of the one teams. I'd ask the question. I'd be like, what else could they have gotten for Fox? But maybe they just do feel the pressure to move him now because this is the highest his value is going to probably be. So yeah, no, kind of an interesting one. The Milwaukee Bucks. Ooh, Zach LaVine, my Bulls getting involved again. I love it. Okay, so Zach LaVine goes to the Bucks. We talked about this in the video not too long ago. I think this would be an awesome move for them. I really, really think Zach LaVine would be an amazing move for the Milwaukee Bucks. And the Bulls take back Chris Middleton for salary. They get Bobby Portis back. I'd love to have Bobby Portis back. I was so sad the day they traded them. I was so sad. And the Bulls get a first-round pick and a second-round pick in 2031. I'd be happy with this if I was a Bulls fan, right? I get to root for Bobby Portis some more. If they trade Vucevic, Bobby can start, because why not? You get Chris Middleton on the team, fine, whatever. We're not going to win a ton of games anyway. Chris Middleton can be on the team. He'll probably want to get bought out after the season or something like that. That's fine. Get a first-round pick for LaVine and a second. I'd take that. At least we're picking a direction at this point. We can try to trade Bobby Portis again in the offseason, as much as I'd be sad to see him go again, because I just want to root for the players that I like. And by the way, I love Zach LaVine. Like, I love all these Bulls players. I really, really do. I have to be realistic and want something different for the team. But if you're the Milwaukee Bucks, I think you could probably do this trade a little bit differently. Right? You could probably do it a little bit differently and maybe involve like a third team, and then you probably don't even have to give up Bobby Portis necessarily. I mean, we go watch my video on this stuff. What is it? Trades that can realistically save the Milwaukee Bucks? Go watch something like that. I think it'd be interesting for you guys, and I think we drew up some even better ones, but I like the bones. The Timberwolves, they are getting Malachi Branham. Okay, a second-round pick, another second-round pick, and another second-round pick, because the Spurs have a ton for Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Now, why are the Timberwolves doing this? Because they want draft capital, and they don't think they can re-sign Nickeil Alexander-Walker? Part of the reason they traded Cat was so that they could re-sign Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and he is one of the better players on this team. Like, one of the few rotations that's really working for the Timberwolves has Nickeil Alexander on the court with DiVincenzo, Anthony Edwards, Naz Reid, and I believe Gobert's the 5th player in that, where that's like their one crazy plus-minus rotation or something like that. So I don't see the point of this, but let's read the article, because it's important to read and listen to everything before you comment. I'm looking at you guys. If the Timberwolves, who are on track to play, or they're on track to be a play-in team, view the deadline through a wider lens than just the remainder of this season, that could put their future finances in focus. Okay, this is it's a costly roster, blah, 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 without future deals such as Naz Reid and Alexander Walker. It might make sense for Minnesota to get something for Alexander Walker now instead of him for nothing in the offseason. Again, though, the whole point of the Cat thing was so that you could re-sign this guy. So yeah, and you get Branham, who I'm not a huge fan of. I just don't think he's the smartest basketball player in the world. So I don't know. I move on from this. The Pelicans. How are we getting Brandon Ingram off this team? Who are they getting back? They get back. Oh, interesting. They're trading him to Toronto in this. Scotty Barnes and Brandon Ingram. It sounds really fun for me, like as a coach, to try to be like, ooh, how do I make this work, right? But it also seems like that wouldn't amount to much. Like RJ Barrett, Scotty Barnes, and Brandon Ingram. Is that really a team that I like fear? That's a lot of salary I'm locking up in a team that I don't think is all that great. I don't think you need to necessarily do that. I just don't necessarily think so. But I mean, if you continue to be bad even after getting Brandon Ingram or something, and then you add Cooper Flagg to the mix or an Ace Bailey, and then you've got like either Ace Bailey or Cooper Flagg, Brandon Ingram and Scotty Barnes. Well, now you got 3 of those motherfuckers, and now that sounds like fun. Having these like 6'9" like ball handlers going around the court that are pretty athletic and can step out and shoot if they really, really need to. Could be a fun basketball team. Could sell some tickets. But what are the Raptors giving up to get him? Kelly Olynyk, Bruce Brown, and some second-round picks. It's again, like, it's just the value of Brandon Ingram is just way higher than any of this stuff. So, like, I totally understand this. And the Pelicans basically are just getting, like, some expiring salary and some picks for it. Fair enough, I guess. Fair enough. I don't know. I can't trip about that trade necessarily either. The New York Knicks. Okay, they're getting their center for Jonas Valanciunas, right? They're going and adding some depth to the team. They could use another big man because I'll be honest with you, I love the idea. Like me as the former like player development coach that I was, like I look at Jericho Sims and I go, ooh, let me work with that. Let me work with that. Let me work with that. I promise you I can do something with it. It's hard to watch the dude play right now. It really is. Like, dude's just not ever in the right position. It's so. I've seen Knicks fans complain about him so much too. So I feel y'all. I feel y'all on it. I'm sorry. I know it's hard right now, but we'll keep rooting for him. We're gonna keep rooting for him. So they get Valanciunas. They get another rotation player, which they desperately need. They trade Mitchell Robinson, who in theory is a great rotational player, but he's hurt all the time. And the Wizards also get some second round picks. Yeah, no, if you're the Wizards, you do this like in an instant, because why not, right? You're getting draft capital, which you don't really have at this point. You don't have a ton of it for how bad of a team you are. So yeah, why not trade Valanciunas while he has some value? He can go help out the Knicks in sparing minutes and everything. I'm sure Thibodeau will trust him and love him and everything, because why not? So yeah, I can see this. I think this could be a good thing. I like that deal. The Thunder, no. What are we doing? What are we doing here? The Thunder are adding Colin Sexton to the group. Okay. I think we got enough point guards on this roster by now. I'd like to add somebody like 6'6" and above to this roster personally. For Isaiah Joe, I really like Isaiah Joe, and all the metrics tell us Isaiah Joe should be the starter all the time. I stand by this take. For Ousmane Dieng, who they just throw into everything, and a first-round pick, top 10 protected their own. Okay, so it's not a great pick then. It's going to be like the last pick of the first round. Again, is Colin Sexton better than these guys? Yeah, he is. He's better than like Dieng in a first and Isaiah Joe, probably. I'd rather just keep Isaiah Joe on the team, though. I don't think Colin Sexton's necessarily what you're missing. You've got 2-3 guys that they're going to have the ball quite a bit on this team, and you've got other ball handlers you can throw out on the court if you really, really need to. So I don't really see the point in this one. I don't think that one's very good. The Orlando Magic, they want to throw De'Aaron Fox into this one now. Okay, this one will be interesting to talk about. So the Magic get De'Aaron Fox. The Kings receive Jonathan Isaac, who then this is when the Magic fans go, no, you can't have him. Don't you dare touch Jonathan Isaac. And I get it. You've put a lot into him. Anthony Black, I like him as a young player. I think he's got kind of a ceiling that he's quickly approaching, but still a 2026 first-round pick, a 2028 first-round pick, and a 2030 second-round pick. Okay, so again, let's talk economics, right? Anthony Black, while a young, interesting player, Orlando Magic fans, he has not shown anything to tell you he's going to be as good as De'Aaron Fox. I'm sorry to tell you that. I know you've had your heart set on him being your starting point guard because so many fans look at their young player that shows anything. You're like, this is the future. And like everything's a guaranteed like S&P 500 stock that it will just continue to go up. And then Jonathan Isaac, who he actually is like a pretty valuable player, at least like defensively, he's extremely valuable and stuff. But De'Aaron Fox is like an all-star level basketball player. You need a point guard. If this is what you have to give up to get a De'Aaron Fox, again, I would not bat an eye at it. What I will say is, do I think De'Aaron Fox is the solution the Magic have been looking for? I think he's partially it. Like, I've been saying the whole season, like, they need a shot creator. They need somebody that can set other people up for things and stuff like that, that can get a bucket anywhere on the court and can create it with any sort of advantage. Cool. Like, Fox can kind of do that. The lack of shooting, adding another lack of shooting player to the Magic concerns me. I personally don't think his playmaking is like that great when he's not in a really good system. So that's a concern I would have as well. But look, if they made this trade, I wouldn't bat too much of an eye at it. Again, I'd tell you my concerns. I'd be like, I'm not sure how well balanced of a team this is, but they got better. So I guess that's what you'd have to look at. I'd still just rather send like Anthony Simons over there. I'll keep saying it. The Sixers, Jimmy Butler goes back, and Alec Burks for Paul George in a 2026 first-round pick. This would be so crazy if it happened. If this is what ended up happening, like at the end of the Jimmy Butler saga, I might just retire. I'd be like, I clearly have no concept of what's going on in the NBA at this point. I have no indication that something like this is even on the table. I'm not connected at all. I don't know what the hell's going on. So I don't get it. Like, the Sixers try to salvage things by being like, Jimmy, you were right. You are the savior all along. Come back to the city of brotherly love right here. PG, the guy that we highly touted and spent the whole offseason trying to get, we don't want you anymore. And we'll use a first round pick to get you out of here. Has Paul George had a pretty rough season for like his standards? Yeah, it hasn't been great. This Sixers team has been pretty much a disaster, right? It has not been what you want, except when Tyrese Maxey just gets going in transition like he did against the Lakers the other night, and he just kind of kept running up and down the court and getting layups. That's fun when that starts to happen, but otherwise not much to be too excited about with this Sixers team. If the Sixers made this trade, I'd be like, I guess, yeah, you got better. I'd probably say that I think Jimmy Butler's a really awesome player still at this point, but I don't think there's any likelihood of something like that happening. The Phoenix Suns, he's back again. Jimmy Butler. Oh, we got a three-teamer again. So the Suns get Jimmy Butler. They would like Jimmy Butler, so that makes sense. The Heat receive De'Aaron Fox. Did we not just talk about... We talked about this. What... Come on, y'all are getting lazy in these articles. Y'all pissing me off now. The Portland Trailblazers, they're going to send the other part of their championship team to the Portland Trailblazers now, those damn Milwaukee Bucks, because if you guys remember, they traded Drew Holiday there, and then he got rerouted to the Celtics. So the Trailblazers get Chris Middleton and a first-round pick for Jeremy. No, come on now. No way. Like, Jeremy Grant is a good player, but, like, Chris Middleton's still, like, solid and everything. So, like... Come on, like, this isn't like that big of a drop, because the contract here is like that's a negative asset for you right now. Jimmy Grant's still a highly contributing like basketball player. It's just the contract is too high, right? We understand that. Chris Middleton is a much shorter contract. He's going to fit with the players that you're trying to develop more right now anyway. And you're getting a first round pick as well. All that for Jeremy Grant. Like, is Jeremy Grant going to make the Bucks better? Yeah, I could potentially see that. But like, if I was a Bucks fan, I'd also say I'd rather just bank on Chris Middleton, who has won a championship with us, and keep the first round pick. I'd probably honestly side with that even more. So I think there's a lot more logic to that overall than taking the risk on Jeremy Grant. So that's what I have to say about that one. Sacramento Kings. How are we trading De'Aaron Fox? So they're sending De'Aaron Fox and Kevin Huerter. They get off his money to the Houston Rockets, and they get Fred VanVleet, I guess, win now player. That's what we're categorizing him as. Reed Shepherd, third overall pick that has not been able to do much in the NBA so far. And 2028 first round pick, top 3 protected. This doesn't feel like nearly enough for De'Aaron Fox. Like, Fred VanVleet, nice player, pretty inefficient at this point. Meh, right? Like, I like Fred VanVleet, but meh. Reed Shepherd, a guy that you haven't seen really any inkling of him being able to do something at the NBA level yet. Do we hope that that's not the case and that he's going to turn into something? Sure, but have you seen it? No. Anyone that thinks otherwise is hoping right now. You're absolutely hoping, and you're talking yourself into something. Because I promise you, watching these games, haven't seen it yet. I hope so. I really do. Really, really do. And then you get a first round pick. Nah, not for De'Aaron Fox, man. You're not just giving away the franchise like that. How much De'Aaron Fox is going to be in this? Holy shit. The Spurs. De'Aaron Fox came out and said, he didn't come out and say this. Let me make sure I'm saying this accurately. It's believed he would very much like to be on the Spurs to play with Wemby, because he thinks we win in chips on chips on chips. I might disagree with that. But, Wemby's awesome. They could use a point guard. Chris Paul's been really, really good for them so far. So I don't think they necessarily need to. But, in this case, they actually trade Chris. They're not going to trade Chris Paul. There is no shot that they do that. Chris Paul being on the team is worth so much to them right now in terms of like player development and everything like that. But what else are the Kings getting? Sohan, Zach Collins for money's sake, and some picks. No. And I'm going to continue to say on this channel, I'm going to figure out if I'm going to do a De'Aaron Fox trade. I just don't buy it. Maybe it happens. It just seems so weird to me. But if I'm the Spurs, right? And I believe what's being said about like, De'Aaron Fox would like to come join this team like after 2026. Okay, so I have to wait a year and a half. My team's not that good anyway. And then I can have De'Aaron Fox. And we can see if he's still going to be good at that point. Like, I'm presuming he still will be, but okay. In the meantime, I'll just keep collecting like good draft picks and developing my young guys. Sure. That seems like a better plan to me. I'll just wait. I don't need to win basketball games right now. There's not a ton of point. We're not going, like, if you put De'Aaron Fox on this Spurs team right now, they're not going like anywhere else in the Western Conference. Like, I'd much rather take my shot in the 2025 draft and try to get another stud. So that's what I would do. I don't need to do it. The Toronto Raptors, what are we doing? They're getting Gary Payton and Moses Moody for Kelly Olynyk. Okay, fair enough. So the Golden State Warriors get off of Moses Moody, who just has not been able to develop with this team whatsoever. We talked about the development concerns that the Warriors are posing to the rest of the league at this point. They get Gary Payton, who, while he's fun to watch dunk every once in a while, like not contributing a whole ton else to them winning and everything. And the Warriors get Olynyk. Like, look, if the Warriors did this, I'd be like, sure. I really don't think Kelly Olynyk's going to provide a bunch to this team, though, necessarily. I see center, so tall guy that can shoot basketball sometimes. I get it. They're the Warriors. They shoot threes and everything, but this doesn't seem like it's worth it. It doesn't seem like it's worth it. Like, I'd rather try to package these guys into something else. So I'm not seeing it. The Jazz. What are we doing with the Jazz? The Jazz receive Kevin Huerter and Trey Lyles. Okay, Trey Lyles, solid. Kevin Huerter still kind of struggling this year. And a first-round pick, lottery protected, though, for John Collins. John Collins has just quietly, since he's gotten to the Jazz, become an even better basketball player than he was like with the Hawks when he was in trade rumors all the time. Do the Jazz need him? No, not at all. I think they're probably going to hold on to him and try to trade him in the offseason or something like that when there's more cap flexibility and stuff. So that would be my guess. But I think this would be a way for the Kings to get better. Like, John Collins is a very good player, and he's a good system basketball player. Like, he fits well into systems, and he's shown he can play well like in those kind of styles. And the Kings tend to run that kind of stuff. So I'd like to think that that'll work out okay. I think this would be a pretty good trade overall. The lottery protected first round pick is probably the highest I'd go for that, but fair enough. I could see it. And finally, the Wizards. They're sending him. Who are they sending Valanciunas to? They're sending him to the Clippers. Okay, yeah, they could use another big man. That's probably fair. Mo Bamba hasn't been great this year. And the Wizards get Cam Christie, who's a rookie who hasn't really played at all, PJ Tucker, and a second round pick. I guess it's something. I wouldn't go past this deadline with Valanciunas. There's just not really a point. Like, I can't imagine the veteran presence of him on the team is worth it at this point. This team is so bad. Like, I don't see like a huge like leadership thing going on here or anything like that. So if you're getting Cam Christie, who do I really think he's going to turn into something all that crazy? No. If you get a second round pick, you save some money or whatever, you'd probably just buy out PJ Tucker or something like that, save yourself a little bit more money. Sure. Fair enough. I just wouldn't hold on to Valanciunas after that. I have to imagine the value is going to start to decrease a little bit after that. So is what it is. But yeah, those are some trades. I don't know if this was like the most elite one. I mean, there was literally like repeats in here at some point. So that's kind of annoying, but is what it is. Stay tuned for the comment of the video. All right. The comment of the video comes from who should trade from Kyle Kuzma video from not too long ago. And we had the guy Calc here. I don't know if you've gotten a comment of the video before, but he said when Kyle Kuzma said they would build something, he meant it. What he didn't let on was that it was built, or it would be built with many, many bricks, insinuating his bad jumper and everything. But no, I just found this to be incredibly, incredibly funny. So as you can see by my reply here, but hey, leave me some more funny comments or something really insightful, and then you guys might end up as the comment of the video or something like that. But otherwise, I appreciate you guys as always. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Trade deadline next week. I'm gonna be by my computer. I've basically just taken off the day to sit by my computer all day Thursday. Thursday when the trade deadline is, so I'm just going to be pumping out videos for you guys. I promise. That's what I intend to do. Oh, and by the way, something I learned thanks to the people on the Discord. Shout out to people on the Discord. I had some people on the Discord being like, AVC, you say you respond to every single comment. You haven't been responding to my comments. I say, oh, bullshit. I say bullshit to you. I reply to every comment, and I sent them screenshots from my my YouTube Studios app that says you've replied to every single comment. And they're like, well, here's my comment. And I'm like, wait, why can't I see your comment? Turns out they were being funny, like they're being chill or whatever, and they're like, oh, dude, like, fuck you or whatever, like, relax, like, say this, like, these are people I talk with the Discord in all the time. Turns out YouTube is hiding those comments and stuff, even though on my videos I say, do not hide any comments from me. I will decide which ones need to be hidden and everything, but apparently YouTube is censoring my stuff anyway, so just be aware of that. Putting that out there. I'll probably include this in, like, another video or something as well so more people see it. But anyway, appreciate you guys as always. Have a wonderful weekend. Thanks so much. Bye.